1.5 million tons in 2025. And it's also not simply about moving goods. It's also about connecting economies and people. Still, the northern route through Russia remains large in absolute capacity, even if volumes declined after 2022. Now, 3 years ago, here in the MSC, we brought together the leaders of the South Caucasus countries. And this year, I'm very happy to have such a wonderful high-level panel to discuss ongoing pertinent questions related to the Trans-Caspian cooperation and connectivity. I'm very pleased to introduce you to our panel. To my right, His Excellency President Aliyev, President of Azerbaijan. Next to him, Marta Koos, Commissioner of the European Commission for EU Enlargement. And next to him, Professor Henry Wang, founder and president of the Center for China and Globalization, also former State Councillor of the People's Republic of China. Let me start with you, Mr. President, if I may. I had the honor to be with you on the panel 3 years ago, then as Secretary General of the OSCE, promoting connectivity through digitalization of trade routes. Your country has been much invested in the Middle Corridor. So let me ask you, what are the opportunities for future Europe-Asia trade, also in terms of resilience and diversification, compared maybe also to alternative routes, such as the northern route via Russia? Over to you.
Thank you very much. Since we've been last time at the panel, many things have changed in our region, including corridors and connectivity. During this period of time, Azerbaijan was largely investing into the physical infrastructure, including seaports, railroads, highways, and air cargo transportation. Definitely trying to become a regional transportation hub, you have to have good relations with your neighbors. And this is the case of Azerbaijan, whether it's to the west or to the east. Azerbaijan's geographical position, being situated between Europe and Asia, is an advantage, but without physical infrastructure, it doesn't mean a lot. So last year, we had a record number of TU going through Azerbaijan, more than 100,000. And in a couple of years, it will go up to 200 and even 300. The target is 500,000 TU. For that purpose, we already started expansion of our trade seaport, and investments are now already being there. Regional connectivity projects, not only railroad, but also fiber optic. We are now working closely with our Central Asian partners of building the fiber optic cable under the Caspian Sea, which should be ready this year. And also thinking about new opportunities after peace with Armenia have been achieved. Corridor which goes through Azerbaijan to Armenia and further to European destination has also great potential with respect to the volume of cargoes. Azerbaijan on its territory now is investing in the railroad construction. Total length of the railroad to be constructed and renovated is 600 kilometers on Azerbaijani territory, in both parts of Azerbaijan, in mainland and Nakhchivan exclave. The length in Armenia is something more than 40. So as soon as it is done, we will have 2 extensions of the middle corridor going through Azerbaijan, and this will be to the benefit of the west, the east, and of course the country which are situated in the southern Caucasus.
Let me turn to you, Commissioner Koos. I mean, the EU strategy is a lot about diversification and de-risking. Now, one of the flagship projects is Global Gateway to boost infrastructure, but also sustainable investment worldwide. How does this fit into deeper Trans-Caspian cooperation?
Just for the clarification, I hope it works, yes. Yes, I am Commissioner for Enlargement, but also for Eastern Partnership. That's why I am also having in my portfolio and dealing with pleasure then with Armenia, Azerbaijan, and of course global gateway in the part of connectivity agenda. This connectivity agenda is a part of the new European Black Sea strategy, which is actually our one flagship projects in the sense of how can we use the positive geopolitical changes to the benefit of, as you have said, business community and also people. And, you know, we have seen many times in the past that we have accepted to see Black Sea, for instance, or Caspian Sea more as something what is dividing us and not something what is connecting us. And this switch in the mentality, and of course the peace projects and the peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan have opened doors to something what wasn't feasible before. And thank you, President Aliyev, for your leadership in this peace project, which is heavily supported by the European Union. So why are we doing this? You know, I was talking to companies who are ready to use these new channels or corridors, and they told me, you know, don't teach us how to do business. We know how to do business. Your task is to enable us. First, we have to have infrastructure, and then, of course, Mr. President, you once said when we met for the first time, you know, it doesn't help if we have new transport if there is nothing going on the railway, on the street. So we remembered this well, in the sense of, yes, we are building new structure, but this also means, from the geopolitical point of view, back to your question, dependencies today we see are more and more weaponized. It doesn't mean that we will forget all the other routes between Europe and China, but we have to take care about the diversification. And the businesses will choose the ways which will be the most suitable for them, meaning that in the short time they can deliver more. And studies shows that the Trans-Caspian transport corridor could triple traffic volumes by 2030, halve transit times, and save tens of millions of costs annually. And this is one of the biggest attractiveness also for the businesses.
Let me turn to you, Mr. Wang. The Middle Corridor connects China to Europe. Now, Russia sees the Middle Corridor as a direct competitor to its northern route. China is investing, of course, through its Belt and Road Initiative. So, can I ask you, does China see the Middle Corridor primarily as an economic project, or maybe also as a part of a broader geopolitical initiative rebalancing across Eurasia?
Thank you. Very good question. Actually, China, of course, the relations with Azerbaijan and all the Central Asia and all the part of the region is always being very important. And actually, President Xi just visited the Central Asia last year as well. And of course, China has this Belt and Road Initiative, which facilitate the Silk Road, actually, that we are going to revive that. And what I think it's not contradictory, whatever already have. You know, China wants to help expand a new corridor, new connections. And we have actually, for example, now you can see, as the President just mentioned, that the volume has been greatly increased from China to Europe. I mean, why the middle corridor? So I think this, we should have all these different corridors working together. Even the EU Global Gateway, China's Belt and Road Initiative. I think this Belt and Road Initiative for China, actually working with Caspian countries and of course Central Asia, is really a comprehensive. It's not just on the transportation. Of course, transportation is very important. It's key. But also it expanding into other manufacturing, investment, infrastructure, digital, AI, many things. So I think it's important that this connection be maintained and be really strengthened and be really developed further. That so China and Europe connections through mid corridor is really going to be very beneficial. So I think that is also the policy for China. For example, China's Belt and Road has launched for 12 years now and has invested over $1 trillion US dollars for over 3,000 projects in different parts of the world. And certainly in Central Asia and the Caspian area, that is also a very important area that China attaches to. And so I think this kind of a development approach, this kind of infrastructure development approach and connectivity approach and people-to-people exchange approach is really important to maintain the prosperity, stability, and creating peace. So I think China is really in a great very good movement in terms of bring down the barriers and trying to be more connected and making all the connectivity possible. That China does its all those great things. I think is very, very useful. And Azerbaijan is a great country. I've been there a number of times. They have a famous Baku Forum, and we had always admired that the soft power that Azerbaijan has.
Can I maybe ask you a quick follow-up? So you would not see the risk that this could increase tensions, for example, between China and Russia?
Not really, because I think for China and Russia, they are also doing great. They have the trade between China and Russia is over 200 billion already. It's very big, and China's trade with Central Asia is about 100 billion US dollars. So I think this kind of connectivity is really benefiting all the routes, because China now every year they are getting 1 trillion US dollar extra for their GDP. It's equivalent to another Indonesia or another Netherlands, basically. So there's so much goods and activities that China going to share or going to be traded with all the different parts of the world. And so there's the more routes are more better. Is we have a more connectivity, more transportation facility that's going to benefit everyone. So I don't think we just have to rely on one route or can't do other things. It's complementary, and it's all be very useful to really expand that connectivity, not only in China, not only just ASEAN, but I think Central Asia, Caspian, and to Europe, so that we are continentally really connected through all those great transportation infrastructure. That would be really beneficial for the long term for our prosperity.
Mr. President, follow-up question for you. I think it was last August, you signed a trilateral declaration with the Prime Minister of Armenia and US President, and the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity, as it is called, TRIP, was introduced. So I wanted to ask you, how does this fit into the broader Trans-Caspian cooperation scheme? And I cannot resist asking you, at this stage of the peace process with Armenia, what role can connectivity play as a confidence-building measure? Or more bluntly, are you going to sign the peace agreement this year?
I hope we will sign peace agreement this year. I already spoke about that on numerous occasions, saying that the very fact that peace agreement was initialed in the White House in the presence of President of United States, plus a joint declaration which was signed by Prime Minister of Armenia and myself, was also signed by President Trump as a witness. All that is enough to say that peace already is achieved. And since August up to now, we not only enjoy absolutely new situation on our border, when there are no shootings, no victims, no wounded, no problems, but also we started physical cooperation with Armenia. We lifted all the restrictions on the transportation of cargo through Azerbaijan, and we are grateful to our Georgian friends that they provide very important transit after the goods reach Azerbaijan to Armenia through Georgia. We also started supply of oil products for Armenia, which is a critical product for them, and thus actually started mutual trade. So from point of view of formal peace deal to be signed. Everything depends on when Armenia's constitution is amended in order to deduct the territorial claim to Azerbaijan, which is existing there for 3 decades. And the next day after it is done, the peace agreement formally will be signed. But in the meantime, Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity also will play instrumental role in creating the new connectivity links. As I already said, transportation route from China, Central Asia, Trans-Caspian, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Azerbaijan's exclave, Nakhchivan, Turkey, and further down to Europe will create absolutely new situation. It will be beneficial to all the countries. All the countries en route will be more politically and economically integrated. And this will be another contribution to long-lasting and eternal peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Because peace can be achieved when you really have peaceful process. Signing the document is important. It's a foundation, but no less important is then what you do after. The time from the last bloody clash between Azerbaijan and Armenia to Washington summit was less than 2 years. I think this is a record number in all the conflicts, especially the conflicts which lasted for 3 decades. So both sides demonstrated strong political will to put an end to this confrontation and to open the chapter of peace. And we live in peace only for 6 months. And believe me, it's a very special feeling. It's a very good feeling, which is shared by all the population of Azerbaijan, and I'm sure of Armenia. And the connectivity projects and corridors, they will unite us even more, make us interdependent, create absolutely new situation in the Southern Caucasus, where Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia will at last start interaction on trilateral grounds.
Signing of the peace agreement this year would definitely be very good news, something we need in these turbulent times. But Commissioner, I wanted to ask you, as the interest in the Middle Corridor grows, how can the EU balance strategic competition with its focus on rules-based connectivity and regional ownership, or also maybe what more can be done to bring in the private sector, particularly from Europe?
Just shortly, perhaps going back what you, Mr. President, have been saying, I can only witness that there are huge changes happening there, you know, and this wouldn't be possible without the peace. So can you imagine the border is closed? There is no trade between. The borders crossings are not existing or closed, and now it is really moving in a very short time. I'm coming from Slovenia. You know, we have been in the middle of having conflicts in the First World War, in the Second World War, having the neighbors where we needed 70 years to come to the reconciliation. Okay, still not everything has been done, but it is moving really, really fast. You need the political will on both sides. And this has opened many channels also to us from Europe. And for instance, we are now making a list of a pipeline of projects with Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey, so concrete projects where then we will see also set the priorities. You've been talking about the TRIP project. You know, the TRIP is 42 kilometers. It doesn't make sense if it's only done the TRIP part, so we need more. And we are now discussing together with Azerbaijan to launch the feasibility study on Nakhchivan railway, which is of great interest also to us, together with the international financial institutions. So whatever we are doing there, it is doing basis that the private investors will be able to come. You know, these are huge projects. They cannot be financed just by the taxpayers' money, and this is what it is important. And doing this in the sense that, of course, it could be a competition, but I think the competition is good, meaning, you know, how fast these projects would be. We have been discussing the year 2030, yes. So this is in less than 4 years, President, you know, I know that you are a man of action. I still don't know how we will manage to do this, but I believe you, of course. But this is also, you know, something new for us. To some extent, we are pushing each other, you know, and this is nice. Today, you know, sometimes decision-making processes in the European Union are not that easy because we are EU 27. But in this time, you know, we see that, for instance, a trip with Nakhchivan together could be a real game changer in this area, and also, you know, what we speak with Turkey. Just coming back to this political part, you know, we have many matrices of different relations. We have bilateral relations. It is not only Armenia, Azerbaijan. It is Turkey, Armenia. It is Turkey, Azerbaijan. Then it is 3 of them, and then with the European Union, 4 of us. So without good cooperation, this cannot be done. And you have said people-to-people relation. It is not only on the level of us politicians. We have to bring businesses in. And I have full trust that European companies, once we will present them the solid financial instruments or possibility, will be able to invest.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Wang, and then last question to you, and then I will open for questions in the audience. You spoke about the possibility of multinational cooperation along the Middle Corridor. So let's say 10 years from now or 15 years from now, will the Middle Corridor have overtaken the Northern Route in terms of volumes, capacity? How do you think it's evolving, if you had to take a guess?
Well, I think it would be certainly very prosperous. I mean, we're given the Central Asia, Caspian countries are rising also so fast, but also given China on this end is also is keeping its 5% GDP growth. A lot of trade can be increased. So I think that the new corridor is certainly going to take more activities, but all the other corridor will be still valid, still useful, still effective. So I think we need more. I mean, even probably we need another middle corridor to strengthen that. So I'm quite optimistic that the trade, the economic connection, the tourism, all the things would be really all necessary for maintain the development and prosperity. And actually, we can revive the tourism through those new route that has been established. I had a friend coming from Europe said, okay, they want to come to China, but then they like to go through different routes of the Silk Road by rail. So that is really very interesting. So I would think that we're going to have more of that, and then that, as the President just said, it will raise the stability and also peace and lasting peace if we have more economic connections, and then those infrastructure, those middle route and other routes are fundamental, blood vessels for healthy economy that we're going to experience.
We have had very positive messages from China to the EU to Azerbaijan, not only connectivity, not only in terms of the economic potential, but also as confidence and trust building. So now I open the floor to the audience for your questions. Please, I think we have someone who brings the mic. Yeah.
Thank you for this insightful conversation. Member of Parliament from Turkey, and I'm also a Munich young leader. My question is that the future of this middle corridor relies greatly on the US interest. And what we know from the last year that we have gone through, that the US interest shifts drastically under this administration. So one, what do you think will happen if the US interest on this corridor changes? 2, how do you think the US response to Iran will impact the future of this corridor? Thank you.
All of you, or whoever wants to go first.
I think the very fact that trip bears the name of President Trump means that this corridor will be important for this administration and maybe beyond the term of this administration. Otherwise, President would have given his name. Giving the name means that it will be done, and after the name was approved, we are absolutely confident that the United States will be part of that. And according to information we have now, United States and Armenia are discussing the parameters of the functioning of the company, which will be entitled to physical construction and investments. It's already from open sources, we know that 76% of the company will belong to United States, 24% to Armenia for the first 49 years. And then there'll be another 49 years. In other words, this format will be functional for 1 century. Second, as you correctly mentioned, there have been different approaches from American administration to connectivity projects in our region. And only when President Trump came to power, we started to see a big interest. In other words, all what has been done by countries of the region, Azerbaijan, Georgia, by our neighbors across the Caspian in Central Asia, was done without any practical American involvement. So we did it together with Turkey ourselves. We can name the oil pipeline through Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, gas pipeline which stretches down to Europe, Baku, Tbilisi, Kars, railroad, all was done without any American practical involvement. So we did it ourselves. Today, when we have such a big asset, as President Trump's administration concentrated on that, of course, the potential of implementation of these large-scale projects is much more large-scale. One thing I also want to underline, we talked about the countries of the region. We should not forget our neighbors across the Caspian in Central Asia, because without them, it will not be possible to ship any cargo from China to Europe. So it's China, Central Asia, Caspian, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, Europe. This is the geography. And Azerbaijan now already is very active in interaction with Central Asian countries. Last November, Azerbaijan was officially incorporated into C5. Central Asian 5 became C6. This is unprecedented development because we are a country of the Southern Caucasus, but we are the members of Central Asian Consultative Council. And a lot we do on connectivity. And a lot is being done between Central Asian countries and China on connectivity. Along with the existing roads, which Madam Helga underlined, there is also the road which is being built and financed by China, another road to the Caspian. Apart from the existing from China, Kazakhstan, Caspian, China is financing now China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Caspian. And again, it comes to the Caspian. That means it will come to Azerbaijan and further down through the Southern Caucasus to Europe. So a lot of geopolitics, a lot of international relations, a lot of diplomacy. And Azerbaijan is a country which managed to initiate and lead these transnational projects, like oil pipeline from Baku to Mediterranean, gas pipeline from Baku to Italy, going along the route of many countries, with all of them having good relations. So it will be another very strong political guarantee for cooperation on the very large geography of Eurasia.
Commissioner, you want to comment?
Just to add that, of course, we were talking about how to motivate businesses to come, but it is also a huge involvement of the political actors. We have had last year in October the first ministerial ever, meaning EU27, and then the countries, including Central Asia, discussing this topic, and the same it was in Tashkent then. I can just tell you, whatever we are discussing these meetings, somehow we have developed great habit, also with you, Mr. President, that we talk, and having maps in the hands, in the sense of what is now possible, who is doing what, or what kind of wishes do we have. And this will also, back to your question, open, some possible new routes to Iran. This will open, Turkey is ready to build another railway connection. Then we have the northern path there. So once we, and I think that we have built on the trust, we are still building on the trust, but it is also building opportunities. And I think helping to understand that nothing is there for centuries. Sometimes we are, also our categories of thinking are too much into what is possible now without seeing in the future. And now we have many leaders there who can see how we all could benefit from them. The whole Europe, we have to admit, we are not doing this to please Azerbaijan. We don't have to do this. Of course, it's good. But yes, indeed, but it is good for Europe. It is good for Europe because we will have access, the better access also to China, to Central Asia. And this is, in these times of all possible conflicts and geopolitical challenges, it is not easy, based on what the World Economic Forum in Davos was doing a survey, what is the #1 threat in the next 2 years, and it was geo-economic conflicts. And we are doing the opposite.
Mr. Wang?
Yes, I think that the route that President mentioned, that China is helping through Central Asia, also to Caspian region and to Turkey, to Europe, is very, very important, because it's not just a transportation route. There's more come with that. There's energy, corporation. There's more green power corporation, and then there's other environmental. There's more, all the other manufacturing and all the investment comes along with those things. So I think we need some success story. We need some, established infrastructure. I think, as a Chinese saying goes, old Chinese saying, if you want to be rich, build roads first. So I think that what we are doing is exactly, building those corridors and getting those corridors connected. And so China and Europe through Central Asian Caribbean countries will be very valid. And also I think going to benefit all the countries. So the more we trade, the more we conduct the business together, the more trust we build, then we'll be more probably seeking a peace rather than, we get into conflict. So I think I'm still a believer that we haven't got into the, a big third world war, is because the whole world is very well connected, intertwined. And then we should not let geopolitical disrupt our development and also our connectivity. So I think this is fundamentally very important, that China believes that the connectivity makes things better and build up the trust and also strengthen the relations and cooperation.
There were, yes, the gentleman in the, yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Stepan Safari, and I'm a member of the Munich Young Leader Group, coming from Armenia. Mr. President, just before asking question, just one observation. The provision of the Armenia's independence declaration you were speaking about and expressing some concerns is not effective. And your administration, not only your administration, but also other governments also are quite well acknowledged about the Constitutional Court's decision on that matter. And the constitutional amendments right now in Armenia has nothing common with those claims and fears. But let me remind you another very prominent initiative which was signed not only last August 8 in Washington, but also before that during the administration of Biden. It's about Peace Crossroad Initiative. And Commissioner is quite right. The trip is about 42 kilometers. But this initiative, Crossroad of Peace initiative, is quite interesting initiative in terms it calibrates all the initiatives, in connectivity initiatives, be it Silk Road, be it Belt and Road, be it Trans-Caspian Corridor or Gulf Black Sea corridor. So it is very inclusive. It is including Georgia and other countries in the region. So what is your attitude toward this very important detail? What brings it to this dynamic, especially when it is stipulated, it is supported by both administrations in Washington for long-term period, not only for, let's say, 4-year term, but for 100 years, for even more. Thank you.
With respect to a legal issue of Armenian constitution, I didn't want to go into much details, but your comment just forced me to say that Declaration of Independence of Armenia, which contains the direct territorial claim to Azerbaijan, is part of your constitution. And constitution, yes, it is. It is in preamble. Let's have a check now from Wikipedia, probably before we finish. So no decision of constitutional court is higher than a constitution. I'm not a lawyer, but even I know that. Therefore, the deduction of Declaration of Independence from the Constitution of Armenia is the only left prerequisite for signing peace agreement. And I think there is a much, how to say, understanding between Armenia and Azerbaijan's leadership what should be done and in what consequence. Mm-hmm. With respect to so-called peace crossroad, you know, when President Trump came back, he launched TRIP. So when President Biden comes back, he will relaunch your peace crossroad.
Let's give time for more questions, please. Mm-hmm. And then we move to the right of the room. Mm-hmm.
So I come from Mongolia, former government official. Question to Commissioner. Continuing the rule-based rules for the transits, which moderator mentioned, comparing the northern route goods are crossing only 4-6 border controls or customs controls, but southern route is much more, at least 14-16 border and the customs controls are going to do. It's cost for the goods and cargoes, time and money for the businesses. And currently, the transit rules is very weak, regulated by the binding rules. And then how you see that one. And we are, Mongolia, together with the Central Asian landlocked countries, we are trying also to create this group of the landlocked countries and then trying to strengthen and define the transit rules. That's, I think, is a very crucial point for the transits.
This is indeed one of the bottlenecks also identified by the, I think, World Bank or EBRD. Commissioner.
Yes, indeed. You know, I was speaking before about trust, but it is also about predictability. And this connectivity agenda, one part of this is also the digital part or digitalization, meaning that it is not only about the transport, it is not only about the railways, energy, it is also how could we in the year 2026 use all the opportunity which digitalization is offering us to deal with the obstacles you have been mentioning. And this is not possible dealing just with one country. That's why I was mentioning before, you know, all the ministers have been present in the sense of we are now building a platform of all the countries, EU27, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and going on to Central Asia to see how can we deal with those obstacles. It is much easier if we do this on the international level than bilaterally. And the energy is there, and we hope once we will have this platform, which we will also connect not just among the government representatives, but also businesses plus international financial institutions, it will be easier. We will see. This is what we think, and quicker to deal with these obstacles we have analyzed through different studies.
We have maybe time for one more question. Lady in the white jacket. Yes, please. Micro, yeah.
Russian attacks hits not only energy infrastructure of Ukraine, but also energy facilities owned by Azerbaijan companies in Ukraine. So my question is, did you personally address this to Putin? And how do you see these attacks? Is it a signal to Baku, or what is happening in your relationship with Russia?
Yes, definitely this issue was raised many times during numerous contacts between our officials on the level of foreign ministries and level of presidential administrations. There have been not only attacks on Azerbaijan's energy infrastructure in Ukraine, but also 3 times attacks on Azerbaijan's embassy in Ukraine. And after first attack,
yeah.
We could imagine that that was accidentally, and we gave our Russian colleagues all the coordinates of Azerbaijan's diplomatic representations, including consular department, our cultural centers and embassy. Despite of all that, there have been 2 more attacks. So that was a deliberate attack on Azerbaijan's diplomatic representation. And we issued special statements, and also ambassador was invited, and diplomatic note was submitted. We act only in the diplomatic way. We cannot do anything else. But of course, it's a thing which is considered to be unfriendly to Azerbaijan. And I understand your question, and just want to inform you that all the necessary diplomatic steps have been taken by Azerbaijani government.
This brings us to the end. I think this was a wonderful panel with lots of good and reinvigorating messages. They deserve a round of applause.